It is also a struggle from which we emerge repentant and blessed, transformed. Jacob, if you remember, has to name himself, and in doing so, he confesses who he is. When he says, I am Jacob, what it means is, I'm the deceiver, I'm the trickster, I'm the one who prevails over my opponents by means of deceit and dishonesty. His confession then allows him to be renamed, and his new name means God prevailed, God rules. At best, this is what history can do for us. Finally, historians emerge just like Jacob, limping from their study. And I'll end with this image of the person limping. There are two implications here. Anthropologically, the limping are liminal beings. They're standing at the threshold between the living and the dead. This is a great place for the historian. Second, because she limps, the historian is slowed down, all too aware of her gait, always in search of balance. Perhaps because they limp, historians are highly conscious that they cannot succeed on their own and must live by the grace of God. And with this limping image, I will pass, I would say the phone. It's not the phone.
I have one. And I paused because I wanted to get down every thought. This is remarkable work, Marianne, and thank you so much. I was hoping that one of us would talk about the historian's craft and how practicing it, even as a serious reader of history, or a student of history, can in fact be transforming. And she captured this beautifully. I'm grateful for that. My own work for you today, History in the Global Church, might sound a bit like Steve's. In fact, I had that exact same quote from C.S. Lewis. I had to strike it out. But one of my favorite Peanuts cartoons has the character Linus, and he's sitting at his desk in school, and he has the assignment of writing an essay. And so on the top of the page, he writes church history. And then the first sentence comes. My pastor was born in 1960. Yes, but the Church of Jesus Christ wasn't born in 1960. And even though contemporary Christians worldwide praise relevance and praise the timely message of their faith, they have much to gain from studying the past and developing a historical consciousness. What is history good for in the global church? Three things come to mind. The first is it gives us a deeper sense of who we are and how far our fellowship extends. One of my favorite biblical passages that gives us a vision of this, of what it means to be the church, is Epistle to the Hebrews 12, verse 1. Since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. When I was a high schooler and an athlete, I loved it to find out that the apostle here was a jock who was talking about races. But now that I'm older and I don't run so much anymore, what strikes me about this passage is the cloud of witnesses. Especially as you get older and more of your friends have passed on and are part of that great cloud, it turns you in that direction. I think more than evangelical churches, liturgical and sacramental churches have a stronger sense of being part of the history of the faith, of age-old tradition, a sense of the church being all the saints, including those who from their labors rest. And often their worship spaces are designed to evoke that vision, with images of saints and prophets and martyrs and apostles reaching up row upon row into the heavenlies towards the throne of God. And as an evangelical, I've come of late to deeply appreciate that vision of what the church is, the living church. Christians in other cultures often more readily share this deeper sense of history. In their traditional worldviews, forebears whose spirits live on and who make themselves present in their lives, often in unexpected ways. So they feel as though they are still in touch with their ancestors, and they feel a need to develop relationships. There's a natural affinity, I think, between this worldview that you might see in Asia and Africa, and with Roman Catholic Christianity, with its traditions of the saints. And I think that's one of the reasons why Roman Catholicism is growing so rapidly in Africa. It's growing just as fast, some people believe, as is Pentecostalism. And I'm not a Catholic, I'm not even an Episcopalian, but I've been blessed by this historic consciousness of our deep and wide spiritual identity, the church through the ages. And as a historian, as someone who's privileged to read and to learn about the church in other times and other places, I think it is deep in my own sense of identity and fellowship as a Christian. Second, what's history good for? For those in the church, history keeps us humble about our actions and about our role in God's plan. One of my favorite historians these days, discovered all too late in my case, is Andrew Walls, the great historian of Christianity, especially in Africa, a Scotsman, a Scots Methodist, by his own admission, a very rare bird. Walls looks at the history of Christianity, and he sees that the faith has not been rooted in one original geographic epicenter and progressively gained and held territory. It's not been like that at all. We don't still say Jerusalem is the only center of our faith. Islam has been much more like that, emanating out from the Arabian Peninsula and progressively controlling territory and continuing to hold Mecca as the great center. Christianity's had a more serial quality to it. It moves into a region, it gains adherents, usually at the margins of society. It grows in number and salience. It puts down roots in new cultural soils and eventually infuses them with its character. And then you see through various kinds of migrations that Christianity is moving with people to new territories and beginning the process again, even while its influence is waning back in its old headquarters. This has happened again and again in the history of the church. There are great parts of the world now that were once deeply Christian and where the church scarcely exists anymore. I don't know if you've run into Philip Jenkins' latest work, which is about Christianity to the south and to the east of Jerusalem, and its great and long career and its demise. But it's a lost history of Christianity. I think that's the title of the book, actually, and it makes this point very clearly, that Christianity has a serial kind of history and existence in parts of the world. What are the implications of that for us? Understanding that history. Christ says the church will endure and overcome, but there is no guarantee that it will do that in any one region of the world forever. It's in a constant up and down. Conception, growth, maturation, migration, aging, and decline. It's going on in Christian churches and in Christian influence in societies too. So what does that do for us? It's a humbling realization. We like to think that that what we have built and what our portion of the Christian church has built is going to last forever and it's going to win the world. History shows that's not so. So while we should build to last, we need to understand that whatever we build is provisional. We live as in tents, like Abraham, looking forward to the city whose builder is God.